Hello, my name is John Thissen. I'm the superintendent of Hayes Schools, and we're at Roosevelt Elementary right now, trying to identify a few of the different changes that may take place if the bond election would pass. At the front entrance, we would end up having all the entrances safe and secure entrances, which of course means that there'd be the front doors, and then after you go through them, there'd be another set of doors that are locked that would force you to go through the office. So you just can't come into the building without signing in. You'd have to go through the main office way. One of the other changes that could take place here at Roosevelt would be a gymnasium that would be placed here, so that the other gym, which also serves as a cafeteria and also an auditorium, could just be specifically the cafeteria and auditorium. This area just right behind me is where it's very possible there could be a gymnasium that's going to be built. Another change that could take place at Roosevelt would be the extension of these two hallways. So on the east side of Roosevelt, they would be extended. Both would have classrooms that would be added, but one section of classrooms would also serve as then the tornado shelter. There would be as well within the building light renovation, but really wouldn't be major renovation, just light for Roosevelt. Hayes High now, and the few projects that would be done here, one of them is major renovation on the inside of the classrooms at Hayes High. By doing that, walls would actually be moved, and because of that, trying to make those classrooms a bigger size from like 650 square feet to 850 square feet. But in doing so, we need to still have the same number of classrooms, which would then possibly jut out at this area here, and those classrooms that would be added onto the building here would then be the tornado shelter. Also at this area there would be the safe and secure entryway, where we'd have to have one set of doors. Once you go through it, there'd be another set of doors that would be locked and really force you to go into the main office before you go into the building. Another project here at Hayes High would be the possibility of an auditorium in this location right over here. I think that's actually the location that was planned back in '78 when the high school bond actually passed. There was the intention of having an auditorium, I think, in this particular spot, and it doesn't have to go here, but this is kind of what's thought of at this point, is placing an auditorium here. The benefit of that is, of course, not having to utilize other locations within town and busing children to those locations for the fine arts, for our plays, for our musicals. That's the purpose of it. We also have the project that our career and tech wing, which is the south side of the high school, would end up being renovated, trying to end up making sure that it ends up having the equipment and the changes in the rooms that would end up making it as ready for today's world with technology and careers. The space is good. It's just a matter that it needs to be updated, and the equipment also needs to be updated in this area. We're at the Hayes Middle School. One of the projects that was being proposed was when we ended up going from Kennedy over here several years ago. There was some add-ons. There was a tornado shelter. There was some very good things that was done to the Felton building. One thing that had not happened was extending the cafeteria. The cafeteria was really constructed for a building that had 300 to 400 students, and now this building has 700 plus students in it. So our cafeteria is tremendously undersized, and this is an area right here that we could extend that and have better space for the cafeteria. Another major project that was planned or could be planned for the middle school is just like when students were moved over here from from Kennedy, the space for the cafeteria was not really adequate. We have right now, anytime during PE classes during the day, there's over 100 students in the gymnasium with 700 plus students. So putting another gymnasium here, so there'd be two that we could work with, would certainly help tremendously. The other thing that's happened in the last 3 to 4 years is we added 7th grade sports, and the 7th grade sports is now creating, well, we're placing students on a bus after school every day to travel to other locations for gymnasiums for practice or for competition. So a second gym really is what's needed for that many students at the middle school. Okay, a third project for Hayes Middle was to have the safe and secure entryway, which again is to have the one set of doors and another set which forces people to go into the main office before they can come into the building. So that would be, and really for the middle school there's not renovation, it's these 3 projects and that's it. We're at Wilson Elementary School at this time, and the plan that could end up happening with this location is a new elementary being built just behind the structure right now, and when it is actually completed, then the building that is now in existence, the old Wilson, would then be demolished, and that would be an area that would have the parking, and the playground area would be more in that particular location. We're at OLaughlin Elementary School. The changes here proposed for this bond election would end up being that the children here would go to a new elementary. Most of them would. Some may go to the added-on size for Wilson or added-on for Roosevelt. But this location would be renovated quite extensively to end up allowing for our children that are part of the Head Start program, the early childhood program. They would come from what used to be the Washington building, and they would come here, the majority of them. We'd be having close to 400 students leaving, and we'd end up having this renovated with about 170 of those preschool children that would come in and use the majority of the building. The renovation would change this so that there'd be different entryways, one for the preschool program and another for the West Side. We have a West Side alternative program that's would end up being here too. There's only about 30 students, and they would end up being part of one of the short wings, and that'd be renovated with a different entrance as well. And then at Rockwell in the basement, we end up having our adult learning center, and we have at any given time around 10, 12 students that are working there. They need about 1 classroom or 2 classrooms, and there would be space here to arrange for them to be as well. So OLaughlin would take care of 3 different programs. We'd even pull in the students that are at Munger. We end up having the very youngest of our Head Start program that's at Munger, and the Munger building would then go back to the church there. That's how the contract ends up reading. It would go back to the church, and those children would come to OLaughlin. Of course, there would be front entrances that would allow for that safe and secure entranceway, and there'd be some classrooms added to this building so that they would be built so as to provide a tornado shelter as well. We're at the Early Childhood Center at this time. Most people still know of it as Washington Elementary, and at this point we have our Head Start children in this building. This is a building that when we end up moving the children here to the OLaughlin building, this building would be repurposed, meaning that it could go to someone else in the community that could find a use for it. If that's not the case, there is money within the bond to end up having it demolished, and then the land would be, we'd have some plan for the land at that particular time. Nothing has been decided at this time, but do believe that we can end up finding a very good purpose for Hays with this particular location. We're at Lincoln Elementary School at this time. Lincoln is one of the schools that we would walk away from. It ends up being the students and the staff would go to a new elementary school, just as OLaughlin. Some of them may be going to a little bit bigger Wilson building and the added-on Roosevelt building. This building would as well be repurposed if we found some purpose for it in the community. We would certainly consider that. If not, it too has money within the bond to be demolished, and then we would consider different options with the land here at this particular location. The two areas that have no plans for, there's no money with the bond election that's going to go into it, would end up being would our transportation center, our bus barn area, and then also the Rockwell Center, which is the old high school. There's no money that's tied to the bond election that's really going to either one of those locations.